Hey, beautiful ladies at the Yoga Sanctuary. I'm so excited because this is the first Yoga Chat Tuesdays that I'm going to be hosting in here. And so we're going to have Yoga Chat Tuesdays every Tuesday at 5. I know that right now it's like 5:40 Eastern Standard Time, but I actually forgot that I had a client already scheduled. So my apologies, but it will be at 5 o'clock sharp each Tuesday from now until the beginning of September. So if you are on, let me know and say hi. And so I'm going to go through some of the questions that were placed in our group. So I did post a Q&A box, and so many of you asked some really awesome questions, and I'm really excited to get to a few of them today. One of the ones that I really wanted to focus on was the wrist pain. And so this is something that's very, very common. This actually happened to me when I started advancing my yoga practice. And it can lead, so if you're not really utilizing your wrists in a really good way, if you're not having proper alignment, and if you're not giving yourself the proper stretches before you practice yoga, you can get tendinitis in your wrists. And so basically what tendinitis is it's all of these, the tendons that kind of go through the fingers get really inflamed, they get swollen, and when they get swollen, they start to affect your nerves, and when they affect your nerves, it gets pretty painful. So what we want to do is avoid that, and one of the ways that we can avoid that is by easing into wrist strengtheners. So the first way that you're going to really help your wrists with yoga is you're going to want to make sure that you have healthy alignment in your wrists. So what that means is that instead of just planting your palm down onto your yoga mat, you see that? What you ideally want to do is almost create a little bit of a hollow area in the middle of your wrist. That's going to place less pressure right here. It's actually going to get you to focus a little bit more on strengthening, for example, your tendons in your wrist area and in your hand area. And so that way you're not placing pressure on the joint, rather you're using your muscles. So that's number one. So always make sure that you're really pressing into your fingers. And when you have your hands down on your mat, you want to make sure that your hands are either slightly out to the sides, or what I prefer is that your middle finger is coming right in with the middle of your forearm. So that's my first tip, is just making sure that you're well aligned. My second tip to really help you with your wrist pain and with dealing with progressing in your yoga practice without putting too much of burden on your wrists is to make sure that you're stretching them consistently. So make sure that you're stretching your wrists, or just giving yourself a warm-up for your wrists before and after your yoga practice. So your wrists go the same way with any other body part. You wouldn't go straight into, let's say, for example, a wheel, or let's say the splits, because everyone knows what the splits is. So you wouldn't go 100% into the splits at the beginning of your yoga practice. Why? Because that's going to create a lot of issues with your hamstrings and your hips. You might not even be able to do it in the beginning of your yoga practice because your body's really cold. You need to make sure that you warm up all those muscles. So that's the same thing for your wrists. You want to ease into it, warm up your muscles first before you actually go into it. And then after you're done a lot of things with your wrists, so if you're doing a lot of planks, or if you're working on handstands and advancing your practice, at the end of your practice, you want to make sure that you're stretching out your wrists. So a nice way to do that is you can bring your hands into fists and just roll them onto one side, and then roll them the other way. Okay, another way that I really like to warm up the wrists, so I'll show you these on my yoga mat, is you're going to bring your fingertips and you're going to place them so they're pointing to the sides of the mat. You're coming into your tabletop and you're just rolling your body from side to side. So rolling one side and then rolling the other side. All right? From there, stretching your wrists, you're going to bring the palms of your hands to face up. You're going to bring the nail side of your hands to face the bottom. And then from there, you're going to bend your elbows towards your sides of your mat, and then straighten your arms. So bend your elbows and straighten. Bending and straightening. And so eventually from there, you'll feel so that helps to warm up your wrists and it helps to stretch them. So from there, your wrists will already be prepared. Your muscles will feel a lot more prepared to get into the poses, and then that way you're decreasing your risk of injury. Another nice way to stretch your wrists is to bring your fingertips down and just lightly stretch your wrist down. So this is also really good for anyone who has any tendinitis from typing too much. So if you're sitting at a desk all day, this is really good for you. All right, and then doing the other side. Okay, and if it's the opposite effect, I mean, for yoga, you're definitely going to want to be stretching your wrists down because you're like this your entire time of your practice. You want to make sure that you're doing the opposite effect. However, you might also want to rotate them, or if you're really feeling for some reason that you just want to stretch them back, feel free to stretch them back as well. All right. The last thing about your wrists that you should really know, especially if you're wanting to advance your practice, this kind of goes along with the other two ladies. I think it was Rebecca and Pauline who were talking about advancing their yoga practice. You're going to want to make sure that you are putting weight into specific areas of your body on a consistent basis and that you're not overloading all at once. So the way to get wrist pain in yoga is to basically just be like, I really want to practice handstands, or I really want to practice planks and I want to get super, super strong with this. And so you go way too hard, way too fast. And then that creates a lot of pain, right? Because your muscles aren't ready for it. You're just loading too much all at once. And so one of the ways to fix that is to help to strengthen your wrists as you're practicing. So you're not necessarily putting all that weight on, but at the same time, you're still looking at a way to really increase your muscle or increase your strength in all of these tendons so that you don't get them hurt. And so a really awesome way to do that is to literally do this. Bring your hands into fists and then open them. Bring them back. So close, open, open, close, open, close. And so keep on doing that as fast as you can. And as soon as you start to do this, you're gonna feel that your muscles are already starting to warm up. And so that's gonna help to strengthen the muscles over time. It's gonna help to strengthen the muscles over time without overbearing your muscles. So for example, with things like plank pose, with things like handstands, so that you can gradually increase that strength. Because when you gradually increase strength, your muscles and your body have time to prepare for it rather than just overloading your muscles all at once. So it's like I said, instead of going into the splits right away in the beginning of your yoga practice, you want to make sure that you're building yourself up to getting into that. And it's the same thing with your wrists. Your wrists really need space and time for their muscles to grow to be able to support your body in specific yoga poses. So have patience with that. So that kind of brings me back to the last thing that we're going to talk about today for our Yoga Chat Tuesday, which is developing the confidence to really advance in your practice. This is a huge topic, so we might not get everything answered today, but there were a few questions that were all about how do I advance in my practice, and like how do I know when it's time for me to get from a bridge pose to a wheel, and how do I practice confidence and inversions? Once again, huge topics, huge topics, but it all starts in a belief in yourself, and it all starts with really acknowledging how much you can do and just taking the first step forward. So let's say, for example, if you're going from your bridge pose to your wheel pose, how can you create a step-by-step process with that that's going to help you to get there? And that's really what you want to do when you advance your yoga practice. You don't want to go all in too fast, because once again, that is, you're going to be very prone to injury if you do that. And you might even just overbear. You might just go, when you go too much too fast, you might actually end up developing less confidence, because it's like, oh crap, I can't do this. Like, why can't I do this? This is so difficult. I'm just going to give up. But when you create a step-by-step process to really help you to advance, it's going to help you to get that confidence little bit by little. And so one of the ways, so if we use the example that Rebecca had of getting from your bridge pose into a wheel pose, what you want to do is create a step-by-step process for that. And so I'm going to grab my block because I'm going to show you exactly how you do that. So each advanced pose, even when it's inversions, will have a step-by-step process on how you're gonna get into that pose. So the idea is that you wanna stay at the step that feels like it's your maximum, that still gives you a challenge without overburdening your body, but at the same time is a pose or is a step that you know is getting you to build strength and flexibility. So with your bridge to your wheel, so your bridge is essentially when you're on your back and you're lifting your hips up, right? To get from here into a wheel, and I need to tuck my shirt in over here, and you're trying to get into your wheel. This is what your wheel looks like, but how do you get from here to here? Well, this is a step-by-step process. And so as you go through all the steps, you develop a little bit more confidence. And so the first step that you're gonna get into from bringing your bridge into your wheel is you're gonna place a block on your mat. And so what that does is it helps to elevate your shoulders and it helps to elevate your upper body so you can get, so it can be a little bit easier for your arms to push up, because a lot of our arms, especially for women, we don't really do a lot of weightlifting. So our arms tend to be a lot weaker than other parts of our body. So what you do from here is you still place your feet the same way that you would in your bridge, and you bring your hands down, but it's a lot easier to bring your hands down than to lift up your hips. So you can kind of just stay here. You can try to see if you can maybe get your back off of the block, which is a little bit easier now that you have the block there. And you can just stay with your head on the mat and your hands on the mat and really press up through your hands. So that's kind of like your step one. So this would be your step one, and maybe this would be your step two, right? Hopefully you see how my back just came slightly over that. And so that's one of the ways that how you develop that confidence is just using that step-by-step process rather than trying to do everything all at once, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Your muscles certainly aren't going to be fully developed to get into all the poses that you want to in a day. And so realizing that the path is the journey, and the path is going to teach you so much about yourself, about your skills, about your emotions, and about your patience, right? Because everything you practice on your yoga mat, you're practicing off your yoga mat in terms of your mind, in terms of the way that you think, and in terms of the way that you process and engage with the world around you. So by giving yourself this process, you're allowing yourself to kind of test the waters little bit by little and develop strength. So for your step three, from getting from your bridge into your wheel, you would once again stay with your block. Maybe you're bringing your head, the crown of your head all the way down. You're bringing your hands right beside your ears. You're really pressing into your feet. You're bringing your head down onto the mat. And then maybe one day you can press up through your hands so much that you can come up into a wheel. And so that is going to be the ultimate test of your faith and your confidence in yourself and your abilities. But once again, it might not happen on your first try, on your second try, or on your third try. You need to be consistent and you need to believe that you're going to get there one day. So I hope that that answers a lot of your questions on how to advance your practice, how to get over the fear of doing inversions. Maybe that's something that we'll look into a little bit more next week, is that idea of fear. But really trying to test out your confidence little bit by little, so progressing a little bit by little in each and every pose is really what's going to allow you to cultivate that confidence that you can eventually get into that full pose one day. And that's going to feel so much better than just trying to push yourself into it from one pose to the next, not really knowing what you're doing and potentially causing yourself injury. So, how'd you like that for the first Yoga Chat Tuesday? I'm just going to see if there are any questions. If you have any questions right now about anything that I talked about, feel free to put them in the comments below. Okay, so if there are no questions, I will be doing another one of these next week. So next week we'll definitely be talking a little bit more about getting over the fear of doing specific yoga poses and specific inversions. We're also going to be talking about opening up through your shoulders. And I think there was another question on anxiety, so we'll definitely get to that one as well. And I'll be posting once again another Q&A thread for the Yoga Chat Tuesday next week. And yeah, so make sure that if you have any other questions, post them in there, and we'll be covering these questions from week to week. I'm really excited about this. I'm so glad that so many of you are participating in it as well, so it's super cool. Hey Kara, I just answered your question. So you can watch this replay and then you'll see it. All right, have a wonderful night everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye.